Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name's Rebecca Lee. This is the Breaking the Cycle webinar, a chain breaker's guide to attracting love that lasts. Thank you very much for joining me today. We've got a lot to get through, and I'm going to do my best to get all the information that you need out to you. So before I get started, like I said, we've got 90 minutes together here tonight. I'm going to do my absolute best to get all the information to you that you need to help you get some insight and understand what cycles you're in, how they're impacting your love life and the rest of your life, and what you can do to start breaking the cycle. So who's this webinar for? This is for single women who are done with repeating patterns, particularly in their love life. I imagine that many of you are very heart-led, big-hearted women, intuitive, old souls. Women who know they are here to break cycles, or at least have some awareness that they don't want to repeat the past, whether it's their past, your past, particularly in relationships, or the past in your family system. And you want love that feels like home to the soul, that real deep connection that you're looking for. And you're ready for something different, because that's what I'm going to give you tonight, ladies. Something different. For many of you, it might be quite out there. Be forewarned. Something different, soul level. Okay, not so much the psychology stuff, which, by the way, I have full respect for, and there's a place for. It's just not my lane. I work on a soul level. So what we're going to cover tonight, as I promised you would have, most of you have probably got here from seeing my ads on Facebook, and I appreciate you signing up. And as promised, I'm going to show you the 3 hidden blocks that are keeping you stuck, okay, and the soul level. Okay, we're going to go through a case study showing you exactly how this work can break cycles at the root cause, my complete roadmap that takes you out of the cycle, and 3 steps to take to begin rewiring your love story. And then a bonus at the end, if you're interested, you feel ready, I'll show you a guided pathway to break the cycle with my full support. So if this is you, you're in the right room. Things that you might say. And maybe there might be a few of these or somewhere in between that relates to you. Have you heard yourself saying, I attract emotionally unavailable partners. I overgive and get crumbs in return. I feel stuck in a repeating pattern. I'm independent but feel lonely or abandoned and or scared to step into another relationship, though you really want to. And I imagine that you're somewhat spiritual or interested in some sort of spirituality, self-awareness stuff, but you still feel stuck. I believe a lot of you have are wise souls and probably done a lot of work on yourself. So before I continue, because I know a lot of you may not know me, and I won't go into my whole life story, but just to give you a little bit about who I am. My name is Rebecca Lee. I've been on this path for a very long time. Since I was a teenager, I was the type of kid that was saying that I was going to break chains. And looking back on it, I don't even know on what level I knew, like how, in what context I was even saying that then. But I knew on some level I was in a system, I was in a family that was stuck in a certain energy, and I already felt different to it. I already felt, even though I didn't have the mental language or capacity to describe it. Always, I already felt like I was trying to rattle out of that cage. Um, and then moving into, young adulthood, I was, attracting similar things in relationships and in my life in general, really, with people in general. So I kept feeling like something else was running my life because I did a lot of research and a lot of study on soul levels very early on in my life. And then I discovered these blocks that I'm going to share with you tonight. And everything changed for me. Like I said, not just with my love life, with relationship, but how I was feeling about myself and how I looked at myself and what I saw for myself and my future. And also stepping into what I really truly desired to do with my life and my purpose. Um, I unlocked my part in the cycle, okay? Because you're going to discover tonight it's not just about us, but we hold on to a piece of the thread. So once I unlocked my part in the cycle and attracted a love, finally found my man, someone who I've been healing and growing with over the last 20 years, raising a family with, and doing a lot of conscious work together. In terms of, okay, what I've learned, let's just say this: patterns aren't random, they are soul level business. Okay, so it's the level of the soul, it's business of the soul, and it's learnings that we're here to break through. They contribute to what you attract and experience. And once we clear this, once we unlock it, your vibration shifts, so does who you attract and what you experience. So I'm going to talk all about this tonight. Just in terms of what I have done professionally, like my experience, I've worked as a soul coach for nearly 20 years. I have helped hundreds of people through my coaching, uh, clearing blocks to love, purpose, and their spiritual gifts. I'm a fully accredited professional level life coach with the ICF. And I believe in standards, okay, in coaching. I love walking between the worlds, okay, between this level of the soul and also having very clear boundaries and standards in who should be working with people on this level, okay. So I've also had extensive training and experience in energy coaching, shamanistic work, tools, sitting with elders, soul level healing and coaching. I've done thousands of readings as a psychic and a medium, and I have been extensively trained over the last 15 years in family constellations. So that's a basis of a lot of my work. If you do want to know more about me and the work and the programs that I offer, please visit my website. You'll get a good look into the various work that I do there. But generally, my work blends energy and soul coaching, mapping patterns and detecting blocks and releasing those on every level. So, the 3 hidden blocks. So, let's not waste any time. Let's just get straight in. I promised you the 3 hidden blocks. I want to get into what the 3 hidden blocks are. I wanted to start by saying talking about love, and love isn't just about relationship. Love is like the essence, the core of everything in our life. Um, it is one of the greatest forces that shapes who we are. It impacts our sense of safety, belonging, confidence, purpose, and our connection to ourselves. When we heal what blocks us in love, we don't just change our relationships, we change how we feel about ourselves, how we sense and experience the world. It changes how we show up in every area of our life. And so many people that do this work for me, they say, oh my gosh, like, come here to discover my relationship, but I've discovered my purpose, or, I've made this massive move to some other part of the world that has just freed them. They feel completely different about themselves, like so many things happen. Like, we're focused on relationship, or, finding, the love that you can rest with, come home to, heal with, grow with, have that soul connection with. But so much more happens with this work, okay? Um, the work doesn't just unlock love, it unlocks you. So this is why I've said it's not a dating problem. And like I said, I'm not here to disrespect anyone's work. I think there is a place for everything. Your dating coaches, the different styles of therapists, all of this sort of stuff. Like I said, it's all needed. Okay. But I just go straight into like the soul first. And then, all these different tools can come later. But I think that we need to start at the root cause before we worry about how we're going to present ourselves on a date and the things that we talk about. Because if we work on a soul level, often a lot of that stuff will just sort itself out naturally anyway, because of the shifts that happen inside you. So let's get to the 3 hidden blocks that therapy and dating advice doesn't cover. Let's get into it. Block 1. The first hidden block I want to talk about is soul level vows and contracts. So some of you may have done work, some of you may see yourself as a soul, and for some of you, this may be very new. Okay. So I probably should start by saying, when I'm talking about soul level, I do assume, because I did promote, like we're talking soul level, I do believe that we are an energy, an essence, a spark, um, coming here to the earth plane, having a human experience. Our energy consumes a human body. Okay. It's like when I recently lost my grandma, and I actually decided to go and pay my last respects to her after she passed by seeing her in an open coffin. And honestly, like, I know it was her, but and I've been doing this for decades. I speak to dead people on the other side, I have all of this kind of experience, but, it just hit home again. Like, that is not my grandma. She's not there. Like, it's our essence, our soul, right? We are a soul having a human experience. And I believe, and I'm not here to tell you what to believe tonight, but I believe that we have many different experiences on earth, okay, in this realm, and lots of other realms as well, which we won't go into tonight. And so we exist after we exit the human body. Okay. And if we have family here and connections here, um, we're still connected. We're still part of this living system. And a lot of different cultures believe in the existence of their family even after they pass over. They're still a living part of the family. Okay, so I guess it's a prerequisite to understand, or to have some kind of open mind about that when you are doing this work, that what it is to be a soul, and what that means. So to me, when we come into this lifetime, into this body, this lifetime, our soul has lots of friends beyond who we've met in this lifetime. We have other connections. We've had other bonds, traumas, experiences, and some, really intense ones with other beings before we even incarnated here. We've had other experiences. And I believe that we come back and reincarnate, and there's lots of different meanings and ideas about why we keep coming back. But I do believe in part of, the reason is Earth being this learning school, that we are here to learn about ourselves, to grow, to learn about love, to raise our consciousness. And I'll talk to you about consciousness later. So we have all these experiences as a soul, and sometimes we work through them over a number of lifetimes. So we can often come in with contracts that we sign to say there's certain things that I'm determined that I want to experience this lifetime. And look, sometimes it's bloody hard. And sometimes it's like, why would I even do this? I just want peace and joy and love and happiness. Why the bloody hell have I signed a contract to go through this? Well, I think that it is because we are here to grow in consciousness. We are here to learn. And often in this realm, part of that experience is going through things that are somewhat challenging. Yes, we can learn from great, beautiful, happy, successful, loving moments. But I think experience and history tells that we also learn a lot through the challenges. And that's what we're up for. It's like our soul sees this plane coming in as like a Kentucky adventure tour. So we do sign contracts, and we've lived in other lifetimes where extensive, extreme, heart-pulling, heart-wrenching moments have happened, and we take vows. We've taken vows, especially if you've had lifetimes where you've been deep in belief, whether it's religion, cultural stuff, like these vows, our souls take these promises very, very seriously. And sometimes we repeat lifetimes after lifetimes with this vow. We'll talk about that. So, block one is the soul level vows and contracts. We have past life vows, we have karmic loops, unfinished soul business. So, karmic loops is really when we are circling around something where we're perhaps punishing ourselves. I'm not too much of a believer in external punishment. I think that the law of the universe and the law that governs all of our souls that come here in the first place, I think we're all here to balance. If there's something that we have caused or created in a previous lifetime, and yes, it might have been part of our learning, and particularly if it was harmful, I do believe we come back and experience the other side of that, and sometimes we can get stuck in karmic loops of that, and there's many different reasons why. And we have contracts the soul made, that can cap our capacity for love. And look, sometimes contracts will be needed, and they're set in place. And I've seen this. Sometimes they're set in place to a certain age, where it can be difficult to break a contract. We might need to journey to the Akashic records. We have some very deep connections and conversations with our soul. But some contracts we've got in place, they're old ones we've made from past lives that seem to be pulling on a thread this lifetime that are affecting us. And sometimes we can change our mind. With some contracts are like, you know what, this was the main learning. These are sub-level learnings. We can rewrite this contract, or we can just diminish this contract. And there's certain ways that we do that. But this is some of the things that are going on, right? And how these shows up, how does this soul level vow and contract stuff show up? So you might just feel cursed. We're talking about love here tonight, but it could be in anything in general. You just could feel cursed. That's what it can feel like. People describe it as feeling, I feel like I'm bloody cursed. It feels like there's an invisible ceiling on your happiness. or no matter what you do, you have similar experiences or attract some of the attract the same people in love, or you simply feel too afraid to step out into love. So what's the root cause? Well, we've talked about that. We've talked about the journey of the soul. Okay, the soul remembers traumas and bonds and experiences from other lifetimes, and it can carry vows like, and this is particularly when there has been a stronghold. Like there's really, really intense emotion. There's a very, very strong mindset, and there's been a deep soul level experience with something, and combined, it combines and hooks in as a vow, and that connects into the soul. So it'll be things like, that's happened, and you'll say, "I'll never love again. I'll only ever love you," or "love requires sacrifice or suffering," or "I must save them," or "love is dangerous, costs too much, hurts too much." Like I've heard all sorts of things. Like there's no limitation in the vows that we can take over lifetimes. And we carry each of these vows over into each lifetime until we acknowledge it and we release it on a soul level. So it's really remembering ourselves as a soul. Okay, not just in our conscious mind and who we are and what's formed us this lifetime. It's really getting to know what's underneath our persona and our mindset and our personality this lifetime. It's really connecting in with ourselves on a soul level. So you can imagine then if we've taken a vow that says, "I must save them," a lot of the women that I consult with, when there's been this sort of vow, they are the rescuers. They are automatically attracted, even if the guy doesn't appear like that at the beginning. It will turn out that he needs some kind of rescuing or saving, or he's got sort of mum issues and he's playing out his broken son issues with you. And because you've got this vow to save them, you kind of take on this mother role, or you try to, fix things for him, all this sort of stuff. If you've taken a vow that has said to someone, "I'll only ever love you," I see this with a lot of this unrequited love, or these people that are fully into the twin flame type of experience. It's like in that past lifetime, it's been so intense, you almost give that person a spark of your soul. Like I've seen it energetically, that person, that soul holds that spark of you you've given them, even your heart, right? And so then, you move through lifetimes, you get to this lifetime, probably similar things happen since then. And, you might meet that soul again. And it might be that you are completely obsessed with them, or, that you are in love with them, but they're not in love with you. Like all these sorts of things are going on. And even when you are smart enough to know that this person is no good for you, this person is dysfunctional, this person isn't that into you, like you just have this obsession. So I've seen many times where it's, a past life thing where we need to pull back that spark, we need to pull back your heart, we need to take that piece out of them and give it back to yourself. So these sorts of things, I'm just giving you some examples tonight because there's so many different things that happen, but I'm just trying to give you examples along the way of the different things that can happen and what I've done for clients on a soul level, that can bring you back to you, that can break these vows, and, get you out of these patterns of, you know, being in these unrequited love situations, wanting someone that you can't have, or, being obsessed with someone who doesn't feel the same about you, or feeling like love actually equates to sacrifice and suffering because you've done harm in the past. And so, you've taken a vow that you'll only suffer like in love. And so many things get said, right? And it's deep and it's real. So I'm going to keep moving on because I could keep talking about block one forever. Block two, the hidden blocks that happen to that contribute to us repeating cycles is ancestral loyalty and entanglements. And honestly, guys, I could do a whole series of webinars just on this. Again, I'm going to skim the surface just to crack the door open to you, particularly if this is really new to you. And try not to overwhelm you too much because it can be a lot to take in. So what's an ancestral loyalty and entanglement? It's where we can unconsciously repeat our family's love story. So where there seems to be, and it may play out differently with the relationships, like if you look at your parents and then you might go back through the maternal line, you might be entangled with a certain theme and love through your maternal line, or maybe it's your paternal line. And it doesn't have to be every single person, but there's a thread that your soul is connected to. And that could be, in my family, like it was about losing love young, okay, like the partner either dying or disappearing or things like this, okay, and that seems to repeat. There's all sorts of things that happen, but we can get entangled in these stories, in this energy, or we may even have a loyalty to it. So we're unconsciously playing out that story so we can belong. And you have no idea how powerful the sense of belonging in a system, in a family, because a family is one system. No, even if we don't like who they are as people, okay, when you start connecting as a soul, you will feel the intensity of the love and the connection we have to these people. And what our soul often does to belong to that system. And that often comes through loyalty, and loyalty to patterns and cycles that we know don't serve us. So our work is about understanding, like identifying and understanding where we're being loyal to people, ancestors, patterns, stories in our system, and disconnecting ourselves from that, but still finding our place to belong. There's so much of the work that I do, and you would be so surprised of the relief that happens and how quick things can turn around when we do this work on a soul level. So we carry the pain, the beliefs, the patterns of those who came before us. And it's not everybody. Like I said, there's certain some people aren't, some people don't have this, right? But I've just found that those of us that are chain breakers, and I'll talk about this later, seem to have come through with a thread, with a connection to certain cycles and patterns, because we are here to break it. It's part of our purpose, it's part of our soul learning. And I think that those of us who are drawn to this work and called to this work, I think that means that we're having a massive ascension and a massive jump in consciousness, and potentially will lift us out of this sort of human learning school that we've been in, and potentially manifest our soul into some other maybe higher realm of experience, is what spirit's showing me. But we have to do this work, and I think a lot of us have turned up at this time in this realm, in this earth realm, to do a lot of this work. So it's a big part of the purpose that we're here. So how else do these ancestral loyalties and entanglements turn up? It could be an overgiver. There's so many ways, okay? There's so many ways. You could be an overgiver. You could be a rescuer. You could abandon yourself and your needs for others, just like someone in your lineage did. Love could feel like a sacrifice, or that it should be. It could be that it's your duty. You could feel very dutiful, or that you have to earn your place. So basically, you have to flog and sacrifice yourself and do all these things just to have a place, just to belong. You could repeating. You could be knowingly repeating what your parents did, or grandparents, or ancestors. So I think, I've spoken a lot about this, but loyalty, to suffering. So our ancestors are not forgotten, even if it hurts. And this is what happens on a soul level. And it might sound a bit crazy right now, but once you're in a field with me where we call in ancestors, okay, you will understand how our souls are so committed to everybody that has been in our that is in our family system has a place, and that everybody's fate, especially if it was a hard fate, needs to be honored, needs to be remembered, it needs to be acknowledged. It's such a huge thing. It's such a huge thing. And I think about old rituals and ceremonies over time, and over many different cultures and even religion, this reverence, this acknowledging, um, this has such a power. This has such a power, and it is so true in a family system. As souls, we're also, particularly in this realm, we're in this sort of balancing realm, light and dark, masculine, feminine, good and bad. It's everything's about bringing balance to the system. So even sometimes we could be playing out um, as a victim to one of our ancestors who were perpetrators, because we're trying to bring balance and healing to the system, or vice versa. Okay. We are always trying to remember those who have been forgotten or had a difficult fate and that was not acknowledged. And we're also playing out roles of ancestors who perhaps were pushed out of the system, were black sheep. We're repeating that fate of that ancestor for them to be remembered, so the system will look and give them back a place. Like I said, so much more we can talk about, but these are the things that we explore. And like I said, you will be surprised at the power and the intensity of the love and the emotion that you will feel when you are connecting on this level. So we do this on a soul level because we're trying to acknowledge them, their pain, their suffering, their experience, and or remember who's been forgotten, and also give everybody a place. Like I said, I could go so much deeper and explain this whole philosophy a lot more, but that's just that in a nutshell. Okay, that's the second thing that's going on in love. Okay, so you could be, let me just go back there. And so you could be experiencing certain things, whether that is who you're attracting or how you're being and behaving because of a loyalty or an entanglement to someone in your family system, or a particular theme or story in your family system. Okay. You could be entangled to an ancestor, one particular ancestor who had very difficult fate. That it needs to be, you have a connection to that soul, and you are repeating perhaps an experience because you are trying to remember that ancestor and give them a place. So once we do that on a soul level, you can free yourself. Okay, so this is all the things we are not taught at school. We are not taught anywhere, all right? But we are more than a physical body and having a mind. There is so much more influencing us, and we need to remember that we are souls, and there is so much influencing us on a soul level. So now the third hidden block is the energy imprints, and we do the work on the chakras and the energy field. So this is basically a knock-on effect, I suppose I could say, from the soul level stuff that we're talking about, from past lives or what's happening on an ancestral level. The things that we're connected to, the things that we bring in from a past lifetime, everything that we experience is sitting in us energetically. So trauma, you know, this is not just past lives and ancestral stuff too. It's all the stuff from this lifetime. Unfinished soul business, lessons, contracts, entanglements with other souls are all stored in your chakras and emanate out into your energy field, which then emanates out into the world. It becomes a vibrational code that emanates and attracts the frequency it is vibrating at. So it could be the culmination of all these experiences, these entanglements, these contracts, you know, everything that's gone on for you. They're vibrating out boom, 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 a frequency. It could be fear, could be anger, shame, sadness, rejection, abandonment. When you start tuning in on, like, you're opening up your intuition and your psychic senses, that's when you start to, like, you can, this is so helpful. Like, doing this work, ladies, is so helpful. Like, you're doing all this deep digging. But I can tell you, I don't think there's been one woman who hasn't done this work whose psychic and intuitive senses didn't just rewrite up. You know, this is when you meet somebody, and it doesn't just have to be a man. Like, I've seen them in the bakery, you know, somebody who's just so lovely, like, and even like overly kind, but something just makes you feel off about them, or you feel like they're angry, right? And they'll be like, I'm not angry, I'm not angry. Shadow work. They can't see it, but your intuitive senses tells you this person's angry, right? How helpful will that be in dating, to see past the mask and be able to feel the resonance of their energy and where they're vibrating at? And it's the same for you. Like, you might be quite independent. You know, you might be very well, like, coping and living and reasonably okay being independent and putting that into the world. But you could be vibrating at abandonment, okay, because of all these things that are happening on a soul level. So even though you might come across quite independent, someone who's tuned in to energy could feel um, your insecurities, okay, around, you know, not wanting to be alone, or, you know, fearing abandonment, you know, being rejected, or these sorts of things. So it doesn't, you know, we learn to put on masks, and we learn to cope and survive, okay, and we can operate that way from our mind, and even, you know, have that reasonably manage our emotions most of the time, probably until you get triggered. um, but what's really true deep down inside, what you're vibrating at is what's actually happening in your world and what you're attracting, okay? So it's not what you feel or think, really, although I understand in terms of coping, it helps. But in terms of stopping cycles, we need to get to that core energetic frequency your consciousness is vibrating at. And it's because of these things that I've been talking about that we are logged in on a soul level. So your mind how it shows up, your mind wants one thing, but your energy keeps attracting the opposite or something else. And you probably don't know it's your energy, but you do now. Okay, you want something, but something else keeps coming in. You're like, oh, I'm doing my affirmations. I'm saying this every day. I'm doing my vision boards. I'm doing all of this. And I keep getting this. Why the bloody hell is this happening, right? You know what you deserve. You probably have a level of self-worth, you know, like, you have this understanding of, you know, I'm a reasonably decent person. I deserve someone who's going to be respectful, you know, of me and my time and my heart. But unintentionally, of course, you're choosing what's familiar. which is the pattern and the cycle, which is what's going on the soul level, okay? Even if you think, hang on, I haven't experienced that in this lifetime. But your soul has experienced it in past lifetimes, or it's a pattern in your family system, or it's an entanglement with an ancestor that you are deeply connected to, okay? Yeah, look, I've said here most often you're someone who's receiving love feels unsafe. This is not always, but I come across a lot of you that it's hard for you to receive. A lot of my clients will say, I can give, but I can't receive. And it's hard to receive because it feels unsafe. And giving feels safer because giving is being less vulnerable. So it's like a protection thing. And just feel into that, like that's just a little sort of side tune into. I've put that there because, like, I've just, like I said, so many of you say I can receive. Sorry, I can give, but I can't receive. Because receiving is a vulnerable place to be. And, for a lot of us, there's been a lot of hooks and binds that come when we receive, because we've been raised in this conditional world. And, there's a lot of low vibrating people where giving something to you comes at a price. There's more we could talk on there. So the root cause, like I've said, is every experience you have had as a soul holds a vibration. Those negative or unresolved experiences and lessons that hold energetic charge, particularly that imprint your energy system and quietly influence who you attract and what you receive. So why all three blocks must be cleared? We have to work on all three layers, okay? And we also have to do some mindset work after we pull up out of the soul and the energy field. We do need to do some mindset work, but we need to go straight in here first. We need to go deeper first. We have to clear blocks on all three layers. If we only say clear the energy field, which, how many of you have been to an energy worker and had energy work done and you feel great and amazing, and then you feel like the same way in 1 week's time, 2 weeks' time? It's because you haven't dealt with the soul bind and the ancestral bind. So it's just completely, like, it's just it'll just constantly create that energy, right? So the cycle's not going to break just by clearing energy. We have to work on all levels, which is what I do. So mindset's not enough either. You can know better. And I know a lot of you do. Gosh, I have. It's not enough. And that's probably why you're here. You've worked that out. You know better, but you're still repeating a pattern. You're still having these similar experiences. You're still feeling the same about yourself, about life, about love, about men, about relationships. Mind shifts that don't reach the soul. Real change equals when we work with soul and energy, and then integration on a mind, body, heart, and soul level. So I have mentioned this briefly before about the chain breaker. And, not everyone's going to do this work this lifetimes. Like I said, I feel like there's only particular souls here whose part of their purpose this lifetime is to do this work. And I like to refer to you as a chain breaker. So not everyone's here to do this work this lifetime, but when the door presents itself to you, I believe your soul is ready to set you free from this cycle. So I don't believe anyone that turns up in front of me or, my socials or my website or my webinars or whatever, any kind of work, I don't think that your soul would be in front of me if there was not a good part of you that was ready to do this work, even if the mind's like, oh, Really? And I get that. But your soul's ready to say, come on, we've got to bounce. We're bouncing out of this realm after this. Come on, we've got to do this. We've got to do this. And I promise you, I make this as um, easy as possible. And it doesn't always have to be that hard. It doesn't have to be that complicated. Okay. Just need to be open. If your heart's willing, if you're willing to be open to see soul's family life as this learning that we're all sort of playing this role, I mean, it can just be so much easier. It really can. But sometimes there's a bit of work to get to that. But you're not here to cope with the pattern or live this lifetime stuck in it. I really don't believe that you've been drawn to do this. I don't believe that you're here to just repeat it and come back and do it again. I don't think you're that type of person. It's just a matter of when are you going to do this? When are you going to be ready? Okay, you're here this lifetime to end the pattern, the cycle, and that's why this doorway's here for you tonight. You know, for yourself and for those of you that have kids or nieces or nephews. It's for those who come after you too. So we've talked about what creates the cycle. Let's have a little bit of a check-in. Ancestral entanglements, past life vows, soul contracts, unresolved trauma in the lineage, energetic imprints in your chakras. They all combine. And they lead to cycles that can include but are not limited to, and I've seen all sorts of cycles, so yours may or may not be here, attracting dysfunctional or emotional unavailable people. Now, I think all of you can relate to that at some point. Feeling abandoned, isolated, lonely, feeling rejected or betrayed, not being chosen, and or not belonging, poverty, overgiving, rescuing, sacrificing, and suffering on many levels. So I know that most of you could relate to something there. So what cycle, what in there do you feel is your cycle that you're here to break? You may have even turned up knowing this. You know, these are just some examples. Abandonment, overgiving, rescuing. Let me know. Let me know. Not being chosen, emotionally unavailable, something else. So just take a moment, you know, is this giving you some idea? And it might not be the exact situations, but it's the feeling. Okay, it's the feeling. Even if you're the person that has had to leave the relationship, you know, it might not be, you know, you're always left. Okay, it could be that you leave, but the feeling inside is you feel abandoned. Okay. Because, you know, just because you've made the decision to leave, you've made the decision to leave because on some way you've felt abandoned in that relationship. Maybe you're just constantly overgiving, and it might not just be in dating and relationships. It could be, you know, with friends, with family. Like you just giving yourself everywhere. It's like part of your identity now. Okay, so just have a little bit of a think into that. Like what is the big thing for you that you're here to break? So I want to talk about Emma. It was really difficult to choose a case study to share with you because I just don't feel it's going to show the whole gamut of what we do and what we can do. I just had to go with one at the end. And of course, Emma isn't her name, but also Emma represents, you know, like when I write about her, she's actually representing a number of my clients, okay? Strong, independent, spiritual women who give and everything and end up alone. Always attracting men who need fixing, even when they don't look like that at first, and feel responsible for their healing. It's like they're the potential seers. Who could relate to that? And look, the outcome is feeling heartbroken and exhausted by going through this experience with someone again. And like I said before, this doesn't have to be just a pattern that's happening in your love life. This could be happening at work where you're the one that ends up giving all the time and not getting credit, right? When it's time for promotions or acknowledgements, or you're just giving to your family all the time. You're there for family or friends all the time, and nobody's there for you when you need some help. It might not just be relationship, it usually isn't. Okay, so just to help open your mind to think about your own situation a little bit more, and this isn't just playing out in love most of the time. Okay, so Emma, we set up a constellation. We did a little bit of work, like the way I work in terms of, energy scanning. I'm going to talk about the chakras soon and how I map things. It gives me a little bit of an indication of where to start, or I may just see the ancestor come through. Okay, usually that happens. And when I work with a client, I'm working with them to open up their intuitive senses as well. Okay, but we got to the point where we realized she was entangled with a grandmother. It was a great grandmother, actually, with her fate. Okay, so fate is something that happens with us or our ancestor that might not be of something that would be positive for them or a good experience for that ancestor. Okay, so the grandmother um, abandoned herself. Actually, this one lady, I'm particularly thinking of her family, this woman, for love. So she left her support systems, she left all of that to be with this man. This is what we found out about this great grandmother. And there's been a lot of grandmothers like this. She overgave, she sacrificed, she spent years with this man, raising family, giving up things, not pursuing things, not that there was a real time for her to do that or opportunity, uh, for him to end up leaving her for somebody else. So in the end, even after all that giving and sacrificing, she wasn't chosen. And for Emma's particular case, like particular great grandma, oh gosh, I can still even feel like, what her pain was there. It was so unbearable. And this particular grandma basically died with a broken heart. And because there was times of where it was just survival, I think some of the kids were growing, some of the younger kids were shipped off to like aunties. I think the husband may have even taken one or two of the youngest ones to the new partner, this sort of stuff, right? And everybody's just in survival, and there's no real acknowledgement, recognition, anything about this woman's story, right? Who's just given so much, sacrificed so much. I mean, and then she's literally discarded, right? So after a little bit of work and tuning in, we found that Emma was really connected to this great grandmother and her story, and she was unconsciously entangled with the great grandma. And like I said before, we can entangle with certain souls that we have a deep bond with or love with, souls often that we have known in other lifetimes. Or just because as souls we see things on a bigger picture, like like sitting here now, most of us wouldn't know the tragedies or the sacrifices that our grandparents or our great grandparents lived. We might hear a story or two here and there that gives us nothing to what these people experienced. So a big part of ancestral reverence is about acknowledging what a soul has walked through and lived in this realm, and how it's contributed, to how we've been loved, how we've been raised. That it's part of this energy and this system that we belong to. And, for Emma, what this woman did, and what she, she sacrificed and what she went through, was deserving of remembrance. And like I said before, we can entangle with an ancestor and we can live out their reality because we're trying to remember them. And it's only because we haven't been given tools and rituals and ceremonies and being held in spaces where we can honor the ancestors, where we can have healthy ancestors behind us, where like we can't take away their fate. Like they were meant to live that fate and those experiences and those stories. It's not about rewriting that, okay? But it's just about acknowledgement, and when the ancestors are acknowledged, they're very happy, all right, and it ripples out. It still ripples out even though they're passed over, so it's very, very powerful. So Emma was trying to remember and honor this lady's fate and story and give her a place in the system, and honor her in the system. um, and there's a lesson for the system, right? There's a lesson for everybody in the system from her fate, from her story. So Emma had this love and this loyalty to this lady in her lineage, and it was playing out in her life. So just, remember everybody's fate, especially hard fates, have to be honored and remembered, so it's not repeated. And when we start seeing ourselves as souls, when we start acknowledging this is part of our health and well-being, things will change. They will absolutely change for you. Having healthy ancestors behind us, honoring the ancestors, giving everyone their place, honoring their fate. I mean, it's just so powerful. And if it's not happening for us, it might be playing out for our kids, right? Their soul might be entangled with something or repeating something. So we identified the soul entanglement. We honored her great grandmother and her sacrifice and her fate. And we even do like a handing back of that, because the ancestors don't want us repeating their bullshit, basically. They don't want that. So they want to be like, give me this energy, give it back to me. They're always like this, give me it back. I don't want you to have that. So we can go through this process where we're like, oh, I can see where out of love I'm entangled with this woman, or I'm repeating her stories, to be connected with her. When we can disconnect ourselves from the fate, and honor our relationship on a soul level, things dramatically change. We cut ourselves off from that cycle, from that pattern, but still can have the connection to the ancestor without having to plug into the fate, to the cycle, to the pattern. So we helped her have a connection with her grandmother, without the fate. And then, of course, we work on an energetic level through the energy transmissions and energy clearings of any excess or leftover energy imprint, because often when we do this work on the soul, the energy sort of releases. Sometimes we need to go through with a bit of a fine tooth comb and just help the energy recalibrate and realign. So then we go and work on the energy level. Once we do that, then, like whatever it is, we can work on mind, we can work on heart so much easier. It just becomes easy. So what happened with Emma? Oh, sorry. What happens then with Em? So pretty well instantly, anyone that she found attractive in the past, she was not finding attractive at all. So that was a good sign. So she was instantly starting to shift in terms of what and who she found attractive externally. And this is in about 6 months, okay? She started being attracted towards more emotionally available men. Previously, she was attracted to unavailable. And these men had a different feel, different energy, wouldn't be the type that she would sort of feel comfortable with before or go to before, or maybe have a different look, these kinds of things. It's different. and this wasn't just with, you know, with men. This was her life in general. She stopped feeling responsible for fixing others because she was expending a lot of energy fixing others everywhere. It was part of her identity and what she felt she had to do to show her love, right? Too much, too out of balance. So she was feeling a lot of relief. She was starting to feel more worthy of being held, being chosen, and being supported. And she just felt more connected to her feminine and that she was more vulnerable, like to receive. Um, but obviously, recognizing she was starting to attract people who are more emotionally mature, you know, helped take those walls down. Yeah, but she was becoming more anchored into this new part of what she was doing. So that's just one example. Like I said, oh my gosh, there's just so many different examples of how we can work with an ancestral entanglement, and how that perhaps affects us energetically. You know, when we do this work, we can look at past life vows, soul contracts, past life, I've said past life vows twice, ancestral entanglements, loyalties, bonds. We can look at mother and father wounds that we can hold, maternal line, paternal line, the women behind us, the men behind us, karmic soulmates. You know, we were talking about that twin flamey type of stuff before. We can be repeating patterns with the similar same souls where we're just looping and looping lifetime after lifetime, and we need to break out energetic imprints, childhood imprinting, you know, like even this lifetime. So we can work on many things. And I know that I'm giving you a lot here, and you know, we'll get to the roadmap. But I just want you to take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself, like, does Emma's story mirror you in any way? You know, maybe take a note or two. Have you been an overgiver or a rescuer, or have you in the past? Do you sense you might be carrying a story or have an entanglement, to someone in your ancestry? Your soul will tell you. And if you're not feeling anything, that's okay right now, because you know we've got certain processes and ways to help you connect in. But I'm just giving you an opportunity just to notice if anything's coming up for you right now. And there's no fixing it right now, okay? It's just awareness. It's just an opportunity to take a moment, just be aware of yourself. What's happening for you? If you got weird feelings coming up, are you anxious? You know, anything like that, you feeling stressed, are you irritated? Are you agitated? Or you're feeling, holy shit, you know, just, I'm talking to your soul, you know, like what your soul might be trying to, you know, be heard by you just by, you know, I'm opening this soul door. Just notice what's coming up, because if you're feeling any of those things that I said, you know, it could be, oh shit, like I really think she's hitting on something here. There is something here for me. My soul's getting antsy. It's trying to tell me, okay? So, my roadmap to breaking the cycle, before I get to exactly that, I just want to talk to you about consciousness. Now, I can give you a pretty good idea of your level of consciousness. If you go to my website, don't go now, you'll see there's, I go to my High Vibration City. Oh, it doesn't matter. You can go to rebecca-lee.com or High Vibration City. I have a lover archetype survey. Absolutely incredible what I'll give you there. I'll tell you exactly where your chakras are, like how blocked or unlocked they are, what your preferences are in giving and receiving love, like exactly where you're standing in love, and where you have a propensity right now. And we'll talk more about that later. But I'll give you an idea from what I pick up from your chakras where you're vibrating at. In consciousness, and I've done a lot of work with the map of consciousness with Hawkins. So the consciousness is the lens that you see love through, and life really, and yourself. It shapes what you tolerate, what and who you are drawn to. It governs what you feel as normal. It dictates what you believe and deserve, and it is shaped by all your experiences across time and space. So all these things that we've talked about and everything in this lifetime creates your consciousness. So David said that we were all born with a level of consciousness and that there was no no way that we could change that level of consciousness that this lifetime. I don't agree with it. I think there's certain souls, like I've said, chain breakers, that are here to really like smash some stuff really quickly, like we're ready. And I do believe that we can change our consciousness. So if you're vibrating at fear, like you can vibrate different levels on the map of consciousness: shame, fear, anger, pride, courage. We go up to higher levels of consciousness. But these blocks that we have keep us in lower levels of consciousness, right? So it keeps us attracting lower consciousness relationships and experiences in life in general. So when you do this work to break the cycles of repeating patterns and release yourself from trauma, binds, and patterns, your consciousness expands. You see things from a different and often higher perspective. And it's a different perspective than you've been able to see before. When you do the work I've been talking about, these 3 layers of blocks, your consciousness expands, and the way you choose love, give and receive love, and allow love changes. This isn't about being high vibe as a fluffy unicorn, oming all day type of thing, right? I don't see high vibe as that. It's about soul work, soul level work that naturally shifts your conscious state of being and the external world around you. So, yeah. Look, I'm going to offer you something at the end. Some of you may get the lover archetype, but if you go to the go and do the lover archetype survey, I give you so much information. I'll show you what your aura looks like, your energy field. I'll tell you exactly where you're vibrating in every chakra, what that means in terms of intimacy and love and what you're attracting, and where you're sitting on the map of consciousness and what that means, like in general, what you are experiencing in love and life. So that's just a little side note there. So we need a map, and I discovered that the chakra system is our map to show us these different blocks and how they're sitting and how they're affecting our life and relationships. Your chakra system holds your love patterns and cycles. Each chakra holds different themes, and that influences how you feel about yourself, life, and how you show up in love. They show you all levels of the hidden blocks that keep you in repeating cycles. So we need to move through them with a fine-tooth comb. So this is just in a nutshell, but this is the map I go through in the Unlock Your Love Blocks program. So all the things that we've discussed, soul level, energetic level, okay, mind, heart, body, these are all stored in the chakras, and there's certain themes that affect our love life. So in the first chakra, and often we have multiple and they're overlapping, okay? But just sort of like to just space it out a little to have a really simple map to follow. The first chakra, the root chakra, and you may not know the chakra system, okay? But, those that end up working with me end up knowing the chakra system fairly well. Literally energy centers right at the center of our body, up to our crown chakra, and then we have other different energy centers in our auric field. So we start with the first chakra in the pelvic region, and we're looking at loyalty to family patterns here. Often this is where I see the blocks to family loyalty, family stories, binds. It's all about safety here, belonging, what our values are and beliefs are that are often hooked into family systems that are not in alignment of who we are or where we want to go. These sorts of things we look at here. Real core wound stuff that can relate to being abandoned and rejected and all this sort of stuff. So that's often what we're looking at here in the root chakra. Second chakra is where we'll find all our maternal line or mother and entanglements, stories, binds, blocks, everything to do with receiving, love, abundance, anything to do with feeling worthy, okay? Our capacity to put up boundaries and where we have a tendency to be codependent. So that's all the stuff that we work on in the second chakra. Third, solar plexus chakra is the father paternal line entanglements that we can have, where they're tripping us up in love, where they're tripping us up in success. The center of our personal power, how we deal with fear. This can be a center where we can project a lot of energy out, a lot of false energy from the third chakra. Where we're sort of trying to cover our insecurities. This is where a lot of the fakeness can come in instead of being authentic. All these sorts of things we look at in the solar plexus. And remember, like I said before, doing this work with yourself is going to sort of really, not sort of, it will open up your intuition, and you're going to be so much better at picking this stuff up with other people. Heart chakra, vulnerability, connection, our ability to, find people that are right for us. We need a tribe, we need a group, we need connection, social connection. We need to be vulnerable. These sorts of things we look at in the heart chakra. Grief, what we've been holding on to, what we're grieving, what's keeping ourselves guarded. The throat, we look at inner child wounds. We look at where it's our inner child expressing herself, instead of our mature soul level adult stuff. Where do we need to deal with the child? What's our capacity for communication? What's our capacity for expression? What's our capacity for being truthful? How do we honor our needs? These sorts of things. Third eye, we're looking at ourselves, our future, our capacity to have visions and goals and see ourselves belonging, to see our future in love, to see our future in relationship, these sorts of things. Crown is about our purpose. Having a purpose, being on purpose is really important in high level relationships. Being in a spiritual alignment, surrendering and trusting. I'm just aware of how long I've gone for now. I'm trying to make sure I just speed it up a little bit. Then we work on outer chakra stuff. This is when we get into past life, unresolved relationships, vows we've had to past life lovers. We look at shadows, soul contracts, things that anything on a soul vow level that is capping our capacity to love or be loved. We look at entanglements with ancestors and lands of birth and ancestry. Be surprised at how some of us are being affected energetically by the energy of certain lands, and just being fully anchored, like getting to a point where we go through all these chakras, we clear all this stuff, and we just get aligned to our higher self, to our power, to our purpose, and living a path of destiny and not repeating a path of fate, of karma. So each chakra holds a theme of intimacy. So most of us are in like karmic soulmate stuff, that's, everyone wants their soulmate, but it's familiar. And you've often been with that person learning this lesson round and round and round again, like a bloody merry-go-round. And we need to break out of that. We need to release ourselves from these soul and energetic level blocks so we can have greater capacity for intimacy. And we unlock these blocks in each chakra. And when we go through all these different themes that we're talking about, we actually unlock higher levels of intimacy. So when we work on first chakra stuff, we attract and we have the capacity to be intimate on physical levels, at a higher level. Second chakra, we're unlocking intimacy, like being able to be emotionally vulnerable, to connect on an emotional level. Third chakra, it's about mental intellect. Okay, a lot of people love someone who's got a good mind, but we need to be reasonably good at all of these. Heart chakra is our capacity to be social, to go out with a lover. Well, first of all, we need to be social to go and find a lover. Okay, so we need to reconnect back in, and we need to reconnect in with the right groups and circles to find the right energy or person. But then we need to be able to have some kind of social, to some degree, some kind of group, tribe, family, with our lover, to be supported like that, to have that joy in that connection. Our throat is our ability to express our needs in a healthy way, to be able to speak a truth. Sixth level into third eye intimacy is about being able to have goals and visions for each other, being sort of wanting to move in the same direction. The crown chakra intimacy is about each of us having some kind of spiritual connection. Perhaps it might be slightly different, but more importantly, a purpose. Like, you both have a purpose and you understand that purpose and you support that purpose. I'm not talking like going and running your own business. It's not always that. Okay, it could be something else. And then, so it goes up and up and up. Okay, the different levels of intimacy we have that break us out of these patterns, these cycles, this soulmate repeating shit, right? So these blocks are really dictating to what you attract and what you're repeating, and they're distorting how you give and receive love. And we can clear one energy center, and it can begin to shift our perception in whatever area, whatever that chakra theme governs. But clearing multiple layers and energy centers will shift an entire pattern, and like I said, increase our capacity for different levels of intimacy, expand our consciousness, and shift our vibration. So everything's shifting. So the map guides us through the breaking the cycle process. I was going to do a guided visualization, but I'm really aware of the time, and I really wanted to give you an opportunity to see what I'm offering and ask any questions too. So I hope you're beginning to see why it's not just a matter of choosing differently or feeling more worthy or being better or more. It's not because you're weak or wrong or broken. It's just that we're not taught that we are a being that exists well beyond our minds and our physical bodies, and there's so much more influencing us energetically and on a soul level across time and space. So we're not reframing a story, we're ending it. It goes beyond mindset and general self-help. It clears the pattern or the cycle at its origin, and it creates a real attraction shift. So it's not even what you bring in, it's what you're drawn to that shifts. Okay. And it aligns you to a love that meets your soul. So I was going to give you 3 things that you can do right now to become aware of and start breaking your cycle. And it seems easy. And of course, this is just a little process that you could start bringing awareness to. But name it. Call out your pattern. What is it? I gave you a little bit of an opportunity there before. What is the cycle that you're trying to break? Did you get an idea tonight about what that is? Track it. Where is it in your body? Or if you know the chakra system, when you ask where that's sitting, where is that sitting? It can give you some insight into where we could track that, then where that might have begun. Okay, then we can do work on that, of where it begun. Do we need to go and connect with an ancestor? Do we need to do some soul past life stuff? And declare your path. Like, you're a chain breaker. You need to say out loud, I am a chain breaker. I am the one who ends this cycle. Love meets me here. So that might be something that you want to play with. So this is the roadmap out of the cycle. This is the journey every chain breaker must walk. Step 1, awareness. What is the cycle you're caught up in? And that little 3-part process I just gave you. Identify where it come from and how it's blocking you. Work on ancestral entanglements. Work on soul level vows, contracts, and unfinished business. Clear the energetic residue and imprints. And then embodiment. We need to anchor this new consciousness and energetic frequency into all levels of our being. So I hope I've given you enough food for thought. I mean, I told you there was, I just feel like I could speak with you all for hours, but I hope I've just given you a little crack I hope I've shed some new light on what is keeping you stuck in cycles and chapters in your life that are not fulfilling for you. And moving forward, you may be able to go away and work through this on your own. And, absolutely, what if, if you've got the capacity to do that, absolutely take this and go and work with it. Or two, let me guide you through each step systematically with full support. So if you're here, you're not meant to repeat what your lineage lived. You're not meant to carry the wounds of those before you, and you're not meant to shrink to be chosen. Okay, you're not meant to be trapped by past life vows and experiences and lessons. You're here to break the cycle. It's part of your purpose. It's part of your process as a soul. This is not just even about this lifetime for you. This is where you go after here. I fully believe that. You're here to rise and love higher. So here's what I do know about you. Like, especially if you're still listening to me now, you're not here because you're broken. You're here because you're ready. Sorry. You are not here because you're broken. You are here because you're ready. You have been through enough, reflected a lot, and you've even learned a lot. You are ready to fully awaken on all levels and finally set yourself free on a soul level. So, what I'm about to share is for you if you want to finally end the repeating patterns and cycles, you're done doing it alone, you want soul and energy based love work, you want to attract aligned conscious connections, and it's not just about relationships, ladies, this is friendships, this is tribe, this is colleagues, work, career, purpose. You're ready for a guided pathway that works. So I'm introducing to you my Unlock Your Love Blocks program. I've been doing this program since 2015, I think it was. I've taken a lot of people through this process online and in personal sessions and in live workshops, face-to-face workshops. So it's a soul-based journey to break the cycle at its root, built for intuitive, heart-led women who are ready for lasting love. So this is what I'm offering. It's a online program. There'll be opportunities for us to connect personally. If we get a good tribe going on, which we usually do, there are so many videos, step-by-step videos with recordings. You can go through it at your own pace. Lots of exercises to start tuning you in. So I'm going to guide you through all this soul level, connecting with ancestors, connecting with patterns, connecting with past lives, like you are fully supported and guided. And I meet with you twice a month. And we'll even have, I'm even thinking about doing live watch parties and all this sort of stuff too. But there's just so much support for you here. There is so much here. It's a 12 chakra pathway to clear blocks and entanglements so you can break the cycle. Monthly group coaching. So we'll do soul level stuff. We'll be there supporting you. I also have 2 coaches who have trained under me in the Unlock Your Love Blocks program. So we'll be there guiding, supporting you through soul level stuff, energy stuff, all the practical stuff. We'll be doing live monthly energy transmissions and clearings where we tune into you individually and as a group, and we give you individual reports. We meet in the whole program, and where we connect is in High Vibration City. It's off all the mainstream platforms and portals. It's what I've created. And it's high level, it's free of all the noise, and there is opportunity for us to give Unlock Your Love Block, personal Unlock Your Love Blocks readings, group readings. There's so much here for you, and we really do get a good tribe of people going when we open these courses. I've got ladies that have known each other and been friends with each other for a long time. So it's not even, what happens in terms of your own inner shifts. It's who you get to meet that's doing this work, and you get to meet fellow chain breakers. So you get lifetime access to the program. And the offer is to get the program and 12 months of group coaching. So that's meeting me twice a month, doing the energy transmissions and clearings, and then the other time we'll meet, we'll be doing Q&A, get to talk to me. I'll take you through different kinds of soul approaches to help you unlock blocks and break cycles. So I'm offering that for $997 full payment, or 4 payments of $249 monthly payments. So that's if you want the program and the group coaching. If you feel like you'll just need a little bit more, whether it's to get started or to keep up your sleeve for once you sort of get really into the program, you can get the program, the group coaching with me, and 3 private sessions with me on Zoom for 90 minutes each. And that's for $1,888 for the full payment, or you can pay me off in 4 payments, 4 monthly payments of $475. So that's my offer. You won't find that on my website because I'm only offering this for a short time. And look, even to offer the VIPs, I'll probably only have about 5 spaces because I do have a pretty full book of clients that I've worked with. My clients I work with for years. Like, that's just how it is. So I'm pretty full. So it's very rarely that I open spaces for private mentoring with me, just to be honest. And I've made it only 3 because let's just get to know each other and, make sure this works for both of us. And then if you want more, we can work out, we can work something out from there. But yeah, so I'll probably just cap that option 2 at 5 people. So my suggestion would be if you really feel me and my work, then definitely jump on that, and happy for you to pay that off over the next couple of months. So I really appreciate you being here. You already know. I just have to trust that. I have to trust who comes. I'm giving you a little nudge. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm waiting. I know this work. I've done it for myself. I've done it for so many people. I've got you. The cycle ends with you. I get really emotional about that. The cycle ends with you, and you don't have to be alone, because I know most of you have probably felt really alone, because that's where I have been. So if you're ready, this is your invitation to, step into something new. Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Any questions, pop them in the chat. If you're listening to the recording, I'll put information where you can email me. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Pleasure, absolute pleasure. And thank you.